it going? I can never do this.
Do you have to pick Katie up by 4:30?
No, not 4:15.
Oh, damn.
So prompts. This is about prompts. This is an overview.
Oh, I know. We're good. You don't have to pad.
So this is a review of a discrete trial. It's the SD response consequence. The SD is the therapist instruction or cue, right? Yeah. Oh, I should do this handy little, this guy. I forgot about this.
You always give like
My
a little-
pointer.
My pointer.
It's not doing it.
Oh.
You need a laser.
I'm using it.
Oh, it's there. Is it there?
Is there?
Oh,
Oh,
no,
it's
I
just
just see
so
the little
tiny.
dot above the R.
No, I think it's just freezing. That's the instruction or cue. The response is the learner's response that you're trying to teach or what they do. And the consequence is the either reinforcement or informational no. This is how learning occurs. So correct responses are reinforced and therefore happen more often. And incorrect responses are not reinforced and so then therefore they happen less often. But then this kind of begs the question, what do you do if the learner doesn't do the correct response? So you take in a non-verbal kid with autism who has no clue what you're saying, and you say, like, clap, 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 no, clap, no, clap, no, clap, no. Like, where does that get you? It gets you nowhere. So, to the rescue, the prompt. So here's the definition of a prompt. A prompt is something we do that makes a response more likely. Sometimes we can use prompts to guarantee a response. Prompts are an incredibly valuable teaching tool because they allow the learner to contact reinforcement, which has to happen if we want to develop the target school. That's why the example of like clap, 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 clap. Is this going? Yeah, it's going. How are they going to contact reinforcement so that response could happen more often if it never even happens at all? That's why we use prompts. So you use it with the SD to occasion a correct response, and then the most important part is you fade them out, because if you don't fade them out, then you get prompt dependence. So the prompt is delivered either with the SD or just after. So you do your SD, which say right now it's like touch head, prompt, touch head. The response counts as what they do, and then the consequence. So there are several different types of prompts. Really, they can kind of be unlimited because you can get creative with them. But just like a basic overview is, first one is full physical. So this is where you use physical guidance to help the learner complete the entire response. It's effective even if the learner puts in absolutely zero effort. So this is, you can think of it as like the Weekend at Bernie's prompt. Like you could just make them do it, and then they're doing it. The only reason it would be ineffective is if the learner actively resists. So if you want to come to the demonstration chair. So, for example, if we're trying to teach like touching items.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Still
stared
stared
right
right into it.
Right? It's like, okay. So full physical, if you're doing one is hand over hand, would be like this, like touch glasses. Yeah, that's the glasses. Touch the napkin. Yes, napkin. Touch the napkin. There it is, it's a napkin. So that's that for hand over hand. Another example, you can go back up. If you did, this comes across with a lot of our kids who engage in like task avoidance. Sometimes you might, if they flop on the floor, which is a total possibility, you might have to prompt standing up, so that looks like in the armpits, and it's like, stand up, and then I like fully take her and prompt standing, even if the feet are off the ground. Like, good
try.
standing.
Good try standing.
Jumping in
Eventually
midair.
those feet will come down. And then anything that's physical, so if you did like a sign, and I said like, can you sign potty? And then I take it, and I put everything. She's doing, like, absolutely nothing, and then I do every last part of it. Or for imitation, it would look like this, like, do this. Yeah, whoop, whoop. So that's full physical, the Weekend at Bernie's. I wonder if we could do demonstrations of all. Maybe I'll save them for the end so that we only have to turn it off once. And then the next one is partial physical. So,
I'm gonna come back.
yeah, well, is it in your, well, then your head's giant head. Well, you can put, we'll do them all. I'll
discuss
go
it
through
first,
them. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we'll do
Yes. So,
Okay.
partial physical is, partial physical is where it's similar to full physical in that there's physical contact involved, but the learner only performs part of the response, so the therapist helps, but the learner is putting in some effort. If the therapist only did their partial prompt, then the response wouldn't happen. They can, as you can imagine, they can come in a wide range because like with that potty sign, it's like I put her thumb, I put her fingers in, and I twisted it. So any little part of that could count. And then another one is a gesture. So is when you use physical movement to increase the likelihood of a correct response. So pointing, tapping, partially modeling a response, or giving even like an expectant look like this could be a gesture. It does not guarantee that a correct response will happen. And then another one is a model. A model is when you actually do the correct response. So the therapist or the behavior tech performs the response for the learner to imitate. This is great for learners who imitate, obviously, but however you can only use it with learners who imitate. So if you have a kid who has no imitation skills, you can't do model prompts with them. It's better than a gesture for a learner who's totally unfamiliar with the task. So example, if you have something like a toy that needs to be manipulated a certain way to use it, like for example, like a ring stacker. If you just use a gesture and said like stack the ring, and they don't know how to do it, that's like that doesn't make any sense. But so sometimes you have to be like stack the ring like this, and then you put the rings on to show them, and then undo it. And then yes. And another one is verbal. Verbal instructions or written visuals can be used to make a correct response more likely. These are useful because they can provide specific information or just to give a hint. So if you're trying to teach someone how to fold a napkin and they fold it, but they fold it kind of like sloppy, there's not really a good way to use like a gesture or a physical to show, unless you just have them redo it to show why it's incorrect, it's sloppy. But if you say, like, look at this, the corners don't match up, for a learner who can understand that, that's more effective, and then telling them to redo it. And they're also useful because they could just give a little bit of a hint. Like if you said, like, so what says moo, and you could say, like, it's a farm animal. So for learners who can respond to that, they can be really effective because it's less intrusive than just saying, like, a cow. Or showing a picture of a cow, because then that kind of just gives the answer. These can be difficult to fade out because they kind of just blend, like our kids get like they have language delays a lot of the time, and then it's just like an unending flow of language and SDs. So sometimes it's like, what's a hint, what's an instruction, what am I supposed to, it just all kind of gets lost, so they can be hard to fade out. And then there's also stimulus prompts. So these are not as commonly used because they have to be done ahead of time, but they usually involve arranging the stimuli in a certain way in order to make a correct response happen. The best kind of example is like a position prompt. So if you have pictures and you have like a cat, a dog, and a pig, and you're saying like touch cat, you put the cat closer to them. And then you say like touch cat, move it a little bit back. Touch cat, move it a little bit back. Touch cat, rotate it. Touch cat until it's mixed in with everything else. Or if you like, this would have to be pre-done, but the correct answer is highlighted. Like touch cat, and cat is yellow. And then you have another set where it's like touch cat, and it's like slightly less yellow, and then less yellow until they all look the same. So those are stimulus prompts. Those are a little bit less common because, like I said, someone has to make those ahead of time. And a lot of times gestures work just as well. So let me do demonstrations of all of them. Okay, so now you can turn it off. This is partial physical. So one example of this is you can use It's called like a touch prompt. So if you want somebody to come with you and you don't think that they'll just follow your instruction right away, it could be like, okay, go line up at the door. And then just like a little touch, and then they do it. Or like, let's go wash our hands, and then just like a touch. And it's just called a touch prompt. So it's very, like, a lot different from like me taking her whole hand. Or like we did the sign language before where a full physical was like, sign potty. And I do this. Or I could do like, I could be like, sign potty. And then she took it all by herself, so it's like, she did part of it. Gestures are really good for things, especially for a lot of learners that are using stimuli at the table. So it's like touch the napkin. Yeah. Touch the pen. Very, very good. Touch the pen. So those were all gestures. Or it could be a full-on, that was a point. You could be like, if you have a learner who's not attending, you could be like, touch the pen. Well, the pen's hard to tap. Touch the napkin, and I tap on it instead of pointing. Or you can use like an expectant look. So maybe I did something, like I put my glasses on upside down because I want to get my kiddo to comment on something unusual. So I do this, and then I'm like,
your glasses are weird.
I know! So yeah.
I know!
So, a model. So a model's used for something when the learner doesn't have a clue what to do. So I want to say, like, put on glasses, but she's never done this before. So I wouldn't just be like, put on glasses, because then or she might just, like, touch them, or, So if I said, like, a model would be like this, like, put on glasses like this. Oh, so fancy.
Styling.
So that's a good time to use a model. A lot of times that works like turn on water like this, and then you turn it off and turn on. The important thing to remember is to like, I don't just say like put on glasses like this. Well, this one doesn't make sense. But if it were water, I wouldn't say like turn on the water like this. And then sometimes people forget to leave, like turn it back off so that the kid does it themselves fully. And then verbal, I gave a few examples of this. So say I wanted to be like, go ask Shelby for the schedule this week. Shelby sits at the desk in the front. So like that would be verbal because I gave her extra information. Another good way is to do a type of verbal prompt is like a written prompt. So say I have a kiddo who engages in echolalia. And if I say, hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
She just says that. And then like, no, hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
No, hi,
Hi,
hi, ha.
Hi, ha.
So that becomes very problematic. But a lot of times with kids like this, you can be like, hi, Courtney.
Hi, Hannah.
Yeah. And then you be like, hi, Courtney.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Hannah.
Yeah. And then that was independent. So that's another one. Textual. Textual can be really effective for kids who, like, it's becoming frustrating to prompt them verbally because they're just echoing what you say. Okay. That is good. Let's move this turn back on. Is it just tapping it?
No. The front one, go all the way to the right. Left. Yes, move that one.
Aha. Oh, it just closed it. Oh, that's easy. I don't know why I was like
a window.
So then we think of prompts as more or less intrusive. So like a full physical is very intrusive, and then that like touch prompt was much less intrusive, and then this one is less intrusive. So the more intrusive a prompt, the more it may assist the learner, but the more it may also intrude on them physically and intrude on their independence. So something like this just basically gives her the answer. If it said like, if I said this and kind of like fitted it in, and then when I just flash this, it gives her less of the answer, and then when I don't even have it, it's not intrusive at all, it's independent. So they can range in intrusiveness across prompt types. So examples of this are like full physical is always just full physical. It's not a very good example. But for partial, it could be anywhere from like sign potty, and then I do one turn, and the person does two more. Or it could be like sign potty, and I go like this, and I put the thumb here, and then I do this and this. Or it could be like sign potty, and I just kind of touch the thing. It could be like sign potty, and then it's independent. Or example for example, like a gesture could be like point and gesture. It could be like this, like touch the napkin, good. Touch the napkin, less intrusive. Touch the napkin, now it's only a point. Touch the napkin, touch the napkin, touch the napkin, and then it's independent. So it could have a big range. And then or it can range across a prompt type. Like typically a full physical is more intrusive than a partial physical, and then a partial physical is more intrusive than a gesture, and then less intrusive than that is usually like a smaller gesture or maybe even like a verbal prompt. So based on the intrusiveness level, we make prompt hierarchies. So these hierarchies are the basis for systematically using and fading prompts, which is what we do. So for examples, like a typical across prompt type hierarchy goes like full physical, partial physical, model, gesture, independent, or model, gesture, verbal, independent. But you can do within, for example, like I said, you could do like point, you could do loud point, soft point, obvious gesture, smaller gesture, smaller gesture, smaller gesture, and that's all within a gesture prompt. Or you can do a combination. So if I wanted to say like sign potty, and I do everything, and then sign potty, and I do partial, and then I do like sign potty, and I do a model, and then I do like sign potty, and I do like a partial model, like start with this, and then I do like sign potty, and I just like gesture like that, or like sign potty. So then that is combination. I use physical, partial, multiple gestures. So this is a typical across types. So full, partial, gesture, / model, or and verbal. Verbal may or may not be included. And then this is an example of within. Here's an example. So from physical to partial physical, if you think of like a kid riding a bike, you start like fully supporting them, and you kind of like slowly try to fade your support. You never used a gesture. You never said like, okay, keep riding and don't fall, and like pointed to the wheels. It was always physical, but you're just fading it back. So visual, textual with commenting. So you could say, if you say you have a kid at a social game and you want them, they just play and they take their turn, but they never comment to their friends, even though they totally can. So you start by saying like, I have 7 points, because that's what they have at the game. And so you prompt them and they say like, I have 7 points, because that's an appropriate comment about what's happening in the game. And then you change it later to say when they have 9, and you write like, I have 9 points. And then the next time you write like, I have, and you do a little blank points. So it looks like this. And then they have to fill it in, and now it's not as intrusive, because they're coming up with how many points they have. And then the next time you present it, you do this, and they say like, I have 10 points. And then the next time you do it, you flash something that's blank, and they're supposed to be like, okay, this is time for me to say something. And then you don't do anything, and they say like, and then you give them an expectant look, and they say like, oh, I have 12 points. And the next time they just do it. You can also use like a verbal or an echoic prompt where you say exactly what you want them to say. So you say like, what are these? Glasses, and then they say it. And then you say like, what are these glasses? And then they say glasses, hopefully. They might just echo you, and then you run into trouble, but assuming they're a kid who can do this. And then you say like, what are these and they say glasses. What are these? And then they say glasses, and I'm like, what are these? So then it's like verbal, verbal, verbal. You're fading, but you never you never did a full physical. You never did a gesture. It was always the same. Or if you're using kind of hints, like I've done this before with a kid who, if you want to, I would take him to lunch, drop him off, and then say like, okay, bye. And then he would walk off, and every time I'd have to correct him and be like, hey, no, turn around, you have to say bye to me, you have to look at me. And I can never get him out of that, like, to do it independently without the correction. So it started as, like, right before I said bye, I would say, like, okay, remember, when I say bye, you need to turn around, look at me, and say bye. Ready? Show me you can do it. Okay, bye. And he did it. Bye. And then it was like, okay, I did it 10 steps earlier. Okay, remember, in about 10 seconds, I'm going to say bye. You need to turn around, look at me, say bye. Okay, ready, go. And then I did it a little earlier, and then I said, remember, I'm about to say bye. What do you need to do? So then it's still a verbal prompt because I'm talking, but then he came up with it, and then he did it correctly. And then, down the hallway, I'd be like, okay, remember, and then that's it. And then, it turned into like, okay. And then eventually I didn't do anything, and I'd say bye, he was fine. So this is like a custom combined hierarchy. So if you imagine you're trying to teach a kid to say high five, so you say like, give me high five, and then you like, full physical, hand up. High five, and then you use partial physical, and you tap their hand towards yours. And then you'd be like, you use a model. High five, and they clap. And then you do high five with a big gesture. High five, and you like tap. And then you'd be like, high five, and a smaller one, just a little point. And then high five with another gesture. High five, and like an expectant look. And that's it for that.